Hey guys, it's Gaijin Hunter. It's March 22nd, Thursday, which means the Deviljho, or the Spring Update number 1, is live for Monster Hunter World. Once you download it from the store, the PSN or Xbox, you'll have to update the game. Go ahead and look for one of the maps on hiring that has a question mark of a monster you haven't found. Once you do that, you will be able to find Deviljho tracks. Now I went ahead and put on a gathering set so I was able to gather them, and I had like Scholar and stuff like that, so my Scout Flies were also leveled up. So I actually was able to fill up the entire gauge in just this hunt, and then I ran into the big boy himself. Now I think they want you to leave, but I went ahead and just fought it. I mean, if you're already gearing to hunt this thing, why would you wait, right? Now I do believe that he appears in different maps for different people. I got lucky and had him on the Elder Recess, which means I got to see the turf war with him and Basil. They are equal rivals and will start to invade your quests later on after you finish Joe. He'll be an invading thing just like Basil. So they actually is a draw. Watch this damage. Slam him, Joe. Oof. So they both damage each other. They are good rivals. So anyways, once you complete that investigation, I do recommend you just kill Joe, because you're going to be going after him anyways. You'll get this dialogue from these NPCs over here telling you that they have discovered new tracks. They want you to go find it. And here the game does explain that you would have to have already killed the Pink Rathian. And at this point you want to then look around for Deviljho tracks. But again, if you're going to be doing it from the beginning, why not just gather all the tracks and fill up the entire gauge in that one time, instead of running around like a madman looking for them? So that's exactly what I did. So it immediately triggered the quest for Deviljho, which once you clear it, it will unlock him to start appearing randomly as an invader. It's called the Food Chain Dominator. Very fun quest. I won't show it because there is some fun cutscenes and I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But go ahead and clear that, you'll get the dragon-proof mantle. But more importantly, we can make some gear. So let's check out the Palico stuff. Again, these are not as strong as the Elder Dragons because of the ranking system. It puts it as the same as Basil, but it does have a very nice blunt hammer, and then some cool sort of almost like wrestler type armor with, I love the little belt with the paw print. That's very cute. Let's go ahead and do a vanity spin around and see what this thing looks like. I love how the hammer literally looks like the head of a Deviljho. You can whack people with that. So yeah, very cute outfit for the cat. Now let's check out the hunter, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm actually really disappointed, not in the visuals, but in the abilities. This is the female alpha, and here is the female beta. So a little bit belly there or not, it's your choice. Let's go ahead and look at what they actually do. Again, I'm a little disappointed. We have level 3 part breaker, level 3 handicraft, level 3 speed eating, and level 3 latent power. Now obviously they did a really good job of capturing the personality of the monster, because obviously he breaks stuff, and part breaker is a really good skill. Handicraft, which extends your sharpness, which we're going to talk about in this video. Level 3 is good, because there really isn't a whole lot of choices outside like Kushala Daora's chest or the Dober legs. Having any more choices for handicraft and armor is always a good thing. Speed eating, which is good because you can down potions and meat and stuff like that really fast. And latent power, which unlocks after you take, I think it's 180 damage or after 5 minutes, so you get stronger. Pretty disappointing that it doesn't have a set bonus either. And the alpha set, if you look at these, you're going to be giving up that handicraft to go down to beta. You will be getting a level 3 slot on the head if you do that, which is kind of nice, I guess, but handicraft would be better. For this one, you got a level 2 slot or handicraft. Give up handicraft to upgrade to a level 3. The hands, latent power 2, handicraft 1, no slot, and you get a level 2 slot if you give up the part breaker. And the same thing, I'm not going to say all these, but needless to say, I'm not that impressed with the set, and I don't really see its parts being that useful. But it does look really cool, so Fashion Hunter for the win. But where Deviljho really shines, and I mean really shines, is its weapons. Now, I understand that for a lot of new players, they may seem like really bad weapons. Like, look at this hammer. 1196 attack is really high. It's got a semi-decent blue, minus 30% affinity. Blech. Some decent dragon and high elder seal, which is the same as Nergigante. And it is a rarity 7, so you get 2 slots, but don't look at this and judge it, because right now you would say, well, it's not a very good weapon, you know, high attack, raw. I'd rather be using a Nergigante weapon. But the trick of this thing is just like the Deviljho when it gets enraged. Throw handicraft and this thing becomes an insane beast. For all of the weapons, and there's 14 of them for Deviljho, all the ones that are Blade Master, you get 10 units of white sharpness for every level of handicraft that you do. So you can get up to 50 units of white, which means 50 hits that you can do before it goes down to blue sharpness of white using handicraft. So overall, all the weapons have the same sort of features. 200 to 20 to 230 base raw, which is top notch. It's only matched by Diablos if the weapon has a weapon for it. Even then, sometimes this weapon will beat it out, except for the charge blade. I think there's like a 10 difference. It's got good dragon element, even better than Nergigante, high Elder Seal, 2 augments because it's rarity 7, and for demerits it has the minus 20 to minus 30% affinity, no slots at all, and it needs handicraft. But seriously, you may be looking at 20 to 30% negative affinity, but you have to understand how calculation works. To figure out the expected power after the percentage chance of not doing, a critical hit or doing a non-critical hit, you take your attack power, times it by 1 plus 0.25, times affinity over 100. So basically, once you get into weapons that are base raw power of 220 and above, which is what these weapons are, a 10% affinity difference, whether it be minus or positive doesn't matter, is a 2.5% difference total in attack power. So if you have plus 20% affinity, that's an additional 5%. If you have minus 20%, that's a minus 5% total power. But remember, we're already dealing with something that has a higher base than even Nergigante, and we're dealing with white sharpness. So let's look at this. 1196 attack, which if you factor in the minus 30% affinity, means that this thing you can almost treat it as having an attack power of 1106. Nergigante for the hammer is 1092, so we're already above it. But then factor in white sharpness versus the long blue. Nergigante weapons can only achieve blue, so that's a 1.2 times of your power for all your attacks. So that is an attack power of 1310, and Joe weapons are white, and white is 1 times 3.2 of your attack power, which is a 10% increase over blue, so it brings it up to 1459. So now you're seeing that really high raw mixed with white sharpness is a recipe for absolute destructive power. This is why the Diablos weapons are so good. So let's jump in and look at all these weapons, and I will probably end up gloating about these things in the remaining top 5 weapon videos of mine. But this is the great sword. We have 1104. That's the handicraft chart there on the right. Minus 30% affinity, decent 240 dragon, and high. 2 augmentations. I definitely love the health regen. A lot of people ask me which augment I like. That's definitely my favorite. But of course, affinity is fine as well, or even a slot or defense. Once you get into weapons that are over 220 raw, or any weapon that is below that, but after you consider the power talents and everything, after about 220, or even a little bit less than that, there is no reason to ever do an attack augmentation. It's always going to be more beneficial, even though it may not be a huge amount, to do affinity over power. Greatsword, definitely probably one of my favorite in the game. Longsword is very decent, 759 attack, minus 25% affinity, and all the other stats here. I will note there that Divine Slasher still beats this thing out, because that thing is very close in raw power, has the white, but that gets the non-elemental boost. The non-elemental boost will give it a 10% attack power boost, which is crazy strong. So that often will take a weapon like the Divine Slasher and bring it above even what the Deviljho is capable of. So close one, but this is also a fine choice, and if you're up against a monster that is weak to dragon, this thing can definitely out damage it if you know what you're doing. This is what the Sword and Shield looks like. I love the name, the Fatal Bite. This is a great weapon again because something like the Sword and Shield or the Dual Blades or even the Longsword to an extent, weapons that hit often, elemental power is really good because an elemental damage does not care if you have minus affinity, positive affinity, it doesn't care. It doesn't even care how small or big the attack is. 210 dragon always does 210 dragon for every hit. So the more you can hit, the more elemental damage you can rack up. So this is why I think this is going to be a fine choice if you're going up against a monster that's weak against dragon. Good slots, good power, yeah, and only minus 20% affinity versus minus 30 for some of the other weapons. This is the Dual Blades. I definitely like the design of these. This, I think, is kind of an alternative choice to Nergigante, again, because it has slightly better element. It's got minus 20% affinity, but 308 attack. Whether or not it compares to Diablos for just pure raw power, I think Diablos beats this one out. But more choices the better, in my opinion, especially because we don't have many choices that have high Elder Seal. So if you're going up against a Teostra or a Kushala or a Val or anything like that, this is a good weapon choice to bring in with you. Here's the hammer, the Devil's Crush, another cool name and another awesome design. This also gets definitely on my top 3 favorite of hammers. It's not as powerful as the Diablos one because they have the exact same raw, but that one can get that non-elemental boost where this one can't. And because the hammer does not hit that often, even though it does have a very nice dragon element, that's not really going to play a huge factor. But the High Elder Seal is nice. This one does have minus 30% affinity, so consider this kind of an optional choice. If you have Nergigante and you're getting kind of bored of using that, this could be a fine choice as well. My favorite Deviljho weapon by far is the Hunting Horn. It's the first time for the series that ever got a Deviljho Hunting Horn, and boy does it not disappoint. It is by far the best hunting horn in my opinion. Not only does it come with the best suite of songs, which is the ones that your Dodogama has, which is attack up large, health plus L, defense up L, and wind pressure negated. And keep in mind, they just buffed the hunting horn, so self-improvement now gives you a 15% attack boost, which is insane. And it also stacks with attack up L and attack up XL. So this thing, that's a huge change. So hunting horn, 15% power boost from the ground up, that's crazy. 30% minus affinity, 240 dragon is actually pretty good. The High Elder Seal is nice. And of course, white sharpness is good on a weapon like Horn, where it can last a little bit longer than a weapon like Sword and Shield. This thing is my new baby. And perhaps my second favorite weapon for Deviljho is its lance. This is definitely going to be my favorite lance, hands down. Really high attack with the 529, minus 25% affinity. Dragon element is good if you're going up against a dragon monster, because the lance can do a lot of hits. It's just relentless. The High Elder Seal, the augments in sharpness. This thing definitely builds out Nergigante in the fact that I can't stand it when you bounce off of a part, whether it's Kirin or a Black Diablos. Bouncing when you're on Lance really sucks. But if you have white sharpness on the scene, you're not going to be bouncing. So yeah, I really like it. You could even get away if you had Protective Polish. Maybe you could, only go up to like Handicraft 1 or 2 and throw that on there. But even I haven't gotten that lucky enough to get that decoration yet. Next up, the Gun Lance, which is also really nice. This is, I think, by far the best long type Gun Lance in the game, where all the other ones like Nergigante, that's a different type. So if you're into long, I think this is going to be your de facto choice of weapon, at least for now. 529, minus 30% affinity. This thing, remember, Gun Lance does eat through sharpness, so either get a Protective Polish thing on there, or you're going to want to use this thing with Handicraft level 5. But yeah, all around just very solid and good power. And next up, I keep trying to call it Slash Axe because that's the Japanese name, but the Switch Axe, the Terror Tyrannos. I hope I'm saying that right. Awesome looking weapon. This is another classic one that I've always been a fan of. 770 attack is actually a little bit less than Diablos, which is 805. But it has minus 25 affinity, where Diablos is minus 30. It does not get the elemental boost that Diablos gets, but you do get the nice long white sharpness, and Diablos is kind of not as good because you only get a sliver of white with Handicraft 5, where with this one you get 50 units. It is a power file type. I'm surprised it didn't go elemental with this one. I think they wanted to push that this was going to be the most iconic Switch Axe because it's Deviljho, it's savage, it's aggressive, so good example of weapon and concept monster. The Charge Blade I want to use just on design alone. This thing looks like a chainsaw with a circular sort of, ferocious looking shield. Of course, when that thing winds up with the axe, it's going to look awesome. This thing has really good attack, 720, minus 25 affinity, only 150 dragon and High Elder Seal. What's really interesting about this one is that it's not impact, which of course is kind of the meta. Everyone's using the Diablos one. Impact files did get kind of a debuff in this update, but not enough to make them, it's not a really big nerf, it just makes it a little bit more balanced. However, the elemental types, these power elemental files, they did get an increase. And if you look at all the different math, it's about a 7% increase or so in power. So if you're going up against a monster that's weak against Dragon Element, I think this is the one that you're going to want. I think you're going to be able to dish out more damage than the other weapons. But as an all-arounder, I still think maybe this isn't quite the best one. Another new one that we've never seen before is the Deviljho Insect Glaive. Now this scene, again, when we're just talking about raw power, which I do a lot in this video, so sorry if you guys don't care about the min-max or anything like that, but I know people are going to be asking, so I wanted to talk about it. This scene I don't think beats out Diablos, but is definitely going to be one of my favorites. One, because the design is just so awesome looking. Two, having white sharpness is really good for a weapon like Insect Glaive because you don't want to be bouncing off. It does come with the health bonus, which I thought was really weird. I can understand them not giving it the speed bonus, but I would think maybe like a power bonus or stamina. But health just doesn't really feel like Deviljho to me, so I'm a little disappointed in that, but that's just pure lore and me being a nerd about it. But other than that, 682 is just really good attack, and again, with 50 units of white, that can go quite a ways. Here's the light bowgun, the Devil's Madness. I'm not going to spread wrong information or embarrass myself. I haven't really gotten into the bowguns yet in this game, so I don't know if this is good or bad. I'll just say from my experience looking at this thing, the ammo size is small, the raw may be very good, but it also comes with high deviation straight out of the box. I don't like this weapon. There's got to be something about this weapon that is really strong that I'm just not seeing, so I'm going to ask you guys, let me know down in the comment below if you play light bowgun. Let us know what's good and what's bad about this weapon so we can better understand it. Same thing applies for heavy bowgun. I'm not that into it, so I don't understand. However, from past games, I'll say that heavy bowgun, the higher raw, the better. And this thing is top class when it comes to raw. It even slightly beats out the Diablos, where the Diablos though seems like it focuses more on pierce ammo and the way that it has clips for those. This seems like it's definitely more focused on normal ammo, which I'm a big fan of. So 7, 6, and 4 is good clip size, so maybe this thing is just really good for normal shots. Maybe there's something else. Let me know down in the comments below what I'm missing, and let me know what you think. The bow, however, I really like. The Villainous Brace. This thing is the top raw when it comes to bow, and up until now we've all been started using the Tobikadachi bow because it is the best weapon against the Elder Dragons who are weak to thunder. Well, now if you're going up against something that's weak against dragon, 210 on the bow is good. I mean, it's not quite as good as Valhazak, but it's got better raw, it's got the high Elder Seal, it can do power coating, close range, and poison. Yeah, I mean, I kind of wish it had a slot, but other than that, this is really solid. So that's that. So I'm not going to go back to my top 5 weapon videos and redo them. Maybe in the fall if we get a bunch of new monsters and it makes sense to, I will. But this was kind of my thoughts on the Deviljho weapons. I think the Deviljho weapons are definitely in the top 3 favorites for almost all the weapon classes, which is great because I'm actually not impressed with its armor. However, you know, some of the best weapons in the game and one of the funnest hunts in the game, that makes for an awesome update. Deviljho is an absolute blast. Usually when you have an invading monster like Basil, you get really upset and frustrated because they're just there to deter you. But Joe will actually attack the monster that you're engaged with as well. So it's kind of like, hey Joe, go get this guy. And it's really fun watching him go up against all the different monsters. Going on Twitter and seeing all the turf wars has been a real delight. Anyways, I think Deviljho was an awesome addition. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys understand now why minus affinity is not a big a deal as some people make it out to be. In white sharpness, man, there's something about seeing white sharpness on your gauge. It just feels good. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of the weapons and the update of itself. And hope you guys have a good time trying to get those Deviljho gems because you cannot exchange the gold Wyverian prints for them, at least as I can tell right now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like button if you did, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, happy hunting.